It's been an interesting year in politics since the Trump family moved into the White House. Joining us today, we have Professor Elizabeth Sherman to discuss all the resignations, policy debates, and scandals as we review this year in politics. Professor Sherman is an assistant professor in the School of Public Affairs at American University. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rachel.
So, Professor Sherman, on January 20th, Donald Trump was sworn into office as the 45th President of the United States. How has Trump defined his first year in office?
Well, you know, I think he's defined his first year in office with an attitude of belligerence. I think belligerence towards the Democrats, towards the loyal opposition, towards any of the public policies that were advocated or passed by the Democrats under President Obama. Certainly he's been, you know, a fierce antagonist to the Affordable Care Act. He's been supporting these tax cuts. But most of all, he's been so antagonistic not only to the people that didn't vote for him, but also to his former opponent, Hillary Clinton, and also, I think, to various social groups that he opposes, certainly the Muslim ban of not allowing any people from Muslim countries to come into the United States, and he's been very aggressive on Iran policies, trying to annihilate the Iran deal. So I think very, very aggressive, very belligerent, speaking mostly to his base.
My second question for you is, the Trump administration has had 3 press secretaries and many other major changes in his cabinet. What impact does this constant change have on the president's ability to push his agenda?
Well, you know, I think it's been just a chaotic revolving door if you really look at it. I think probably the main one was Steve Bannon, a very controversial person who claimed to be, at Breitbart, to be providing the platform for the alt-right. And the alt-right is defined as the far right, and we've seen, you know, these uprisings of neo-Nazis and marches in their favor. So Bannon obviously was banned. The communications secretary was fired, you know, after a very tumultuous tenure there. You know, loss of press secretaries, and, you know, most of all, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price. I mean, this huge department, and we find out that, you know, he's been misusing public funds. I mean, that was probably the most outrageous of them all, although, you know, and now he's being replaced, you know, by someone who's a corporate executive at pharma. So I think we've seen that, you know, there hasn't really been an understanding of policy. You know, the president feels that, you know, he's in a position to be hiring and firing people, but, you know, I think it also shows that he doesn't have the A-list in there in his cabinet or in his staff.
Mm-hmm. With the ongoing Russia investigation, which is another issue, are we looking at even more changes in the next few weeks?
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, I think that the president is very much on the defensive ever since the questions were raised, even during the campaign about Russian influence. The president has always put out this line that there's absolutely been no collusion, there's been no contacts, but of course we find out, you know, thanks to the press, that in fact there have been many, and that there have been connections. And now we know that that Mike Flynn is going to be, or probably already has given testimony to the special prosecutor, and we're going to see whether or not there were really serious problems and serious crimes here of not just collusion and not just contacts, not just help from a foreign government to get a candidate elected, but, you know, if there are actually going to be consequences. And after the firing, talking about firing, the FBI director was fired, and if that is actually the reasons behind this were to stop the investigation into Russia, it looks like that was the reason he was fired.
Mm-hmm. And briefly, can you talk to us about talking about fast change? President Trump has been speaking about immigration, tax reform, and health care. What do you personally think are the president's biggest wins and losses?
Well, he didn't win on health care. I mean, it was, you know, a very dramatic moment when we all saw on television when John McCain put the thumbs down. So that was one vote that saved the Affordable Care Act. You know, it looks like there's going to be a massive, massive tax cut for corporations and for the wealthy 1%, and he's going to count that as a giant win. He hasn't won on infrastructure. He was going to, fix LaGuardia Airport that's falling down. He was going to fix all the bridges and highways that are a total mess. Hasn't done a single thing on that. So I think that, he made a lot of promises. All the jobs are going to be coming back. We're really going to fix NAFTA. We're going to fix all these trade agreements. China is, eating our lunch. We haven't seen anything on that. Not at all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Professor
you.
Sherman.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Continuing with the Trump talk, it's no secret that Twitter has been his go-to platform for communicating with the world, both friends and enemies included. District Wire News correspondent Manuela Mejia found POTUS's top 3 popular tweets of 2017.
Trump's use of Twitter continues to be the subject of political analysis in 2017. His tweets have the power to shape foreign affairs, swing markets, and stir the American public. From both his personal and presidential accounts, President Trump has made Twitter a central part of his leadership. Here are his 3 most retweeted tweets of this year. Coming in at number 3 is Puerto Rico's hurricane tweet, which the president published in September 30th. President Trump caused controversy after accusing Puerto Ricans of wanting everything to be done for them. Number 2 is the ban on transgender people tweet. President Trump argued that trans service members present tremendous medical costs and disruption. And President Trump's most retweeted tweet is his anti-CNN wrestling video. In return, CNN called in a statement a sad day when the President of the United States encourages violence against reporters. For District Wire News, this is Manuela Mejia.
Next, we commemorate those lost in 2017 when District Wire News returns.